I hope everyone are here. Okay, better. So we were talking about ligaments, isn't it? So what are these ligaments? We have, see, this is transverse cervical ligament, then pubocervical, and then this is uterosacral. Apart from this, we also have round ligament. Okay, so these are the true ligaments. So the false ligaments are peritoneal folds: uterovesical, rectovaginal, rectouterine, and broad ligament. Okay, better. So round ligament is this, the one which is moving from the lateral wall downwards, laterally entering into the inguinal canal till the labia majora. This we have discussed. This also we have discussed. Mecken-Rod's ligaments from the lateral wall of the cervix. Okay, it's related to the uterine artery, ureter, and broad ligament. Now, to continue from here. So uterosacral ligament, as the name implies, that means from the uterus, you are finding the ligament is going up to the sacrum. Okay, that's why you call it as uterosacral ligaments. That means, see, one is, I'll show you from the other picture. One is pulling from front, the other is pulling from behind. Two ropes, one rope from this side, the other from the other side, so that its position is maintained. Okay, from anterior aspect, you will see round ligament. From posterior aspect, you will see uterosacral ligament. From lateral aspect, we will have lateral ligaments. And of course, like anterolaterally, we have pubocervical ligaments. Okay, beta? So uterosacral ligament is extending from the cervix of the uterus to S3 vertebra. So it helps in maintaining the position of uterus. Okay. So pubocervical is attaching from the cervix to the pubic bones. Okay. Now see here. This is the uterosacral. This is the pubocervical. This is supporting from behind. This is supporting from front. Okay. So these are mere folds of peritoneum, false ligaments, not true. The uterovesical, it is nothing but the peritoneal fold which is seen on the anterior surface of the body of uterus. We know pretty well from the upper surface of the urinary bladder. Rectovaginal, rectouterine are behind. Okay. Now let us see broad ligament first before we just discuss about it. If you remember, I told you the peritoneum, when we were doing peritoneal reflection, this whole thing is broad ligament. So it is actually enclosing the fundus, it is enclosing the body, enclosing the cervix. Till here you are finding. Okay. So not only this, if you observe, it is also enclosing the fallopian tube, it's also enclosing the ovaries. That means the whole part of this broad ligament is further subdivided into certain names. The part of the broad ligament which is actually forming a cover over the uterus is actually the mesometrium. Meso is the word is which is generally representing as prefix, no, to represent peritoneal fold. Okay, mesometrium is the fold of peritoneum which is covering the uterus. Okay, mesosalpinx, salpinx means tube. Mesosalpinx is the fold of peritoneum which is a part of broad ligament which is holding the fallopian tube. Mesovarium is a part of broad ligament which is suspending or which is covering the ovary. So that means overall broad ligament has how many components? 3 components. Okay. So mesometrium covering the uterus, mesovarium covering the ovaries, and mesosalpinx covering the fallopian tube. Okay. Now see here. Now let us describe this. Okay, before I describe again, see, without diagram it's difficult to understand the borders. It becomes the upper border, this becomes the lower border, this becomes the like medial border, and this becomes the lateral border. Now let us see. Overall, the shape of broad ligament is quadrilateral. Because it is a peritoneal covering, it will have 2 layers. Okay, 2 layers. The surfaces are like, if you view from front, this is anterior surface, but if you view from behind, that will be the posterior. So anterior surface is bending front, no, over the urinary bladder. That's why it is antero-inferior. Okay. Then the posterior one is little higher up. That's why you call it as posterior-superior. Okay. So antero-inferior part is related to the superior surface of urinary bladder. There you will see certain depressions on either side of urinary bladder. You call it as paravesical foci. Posterior superior, it gives attachment to mesovarium. Okay, and also the uterine tube. Borders, upper border, lower border, medial border, lateral border. Upper border, what does it have? Fallopian tube in medial 3/4. And also this ligament of ovary, we will see here, you call it as suspensory ligament of ovary. Okay. So in the upper border of the broad ligament, we have fallopian tube in the medial 3/4 and suspensory ligament of ovary in the lateral 1/4. Okay. Lower part, this is the lower part which is attached to the pelvic wall. Medially, it is attached to the, where is it attached medially? This is the medial border of broad ligament, right? Medially, it is attached to the lateral margin of uterus. Okay. And laterally, the broad ligament is attached to pelvic wall. Pelvic wall. Okay. Like that. So I told you already what are the subdivisions. What are the subdivisions? Close to the uterus, mesometrium. Close to the fallopian tube, mesosalpinx. Close to the ovary, mesovarium. Okay. Mesosalpinx, between the uterine tube and the ovary. Mesometrium, from ovary to the base of the broad ligament. Extension. Mesovarium, from posterior layer where ovary is attached. This we will understand when we do ovary. Tomorrow we will do ovary fallopian tube. Now supports of uterus. So we have peritoneal reflection, that is anterior and posterior. Anteriorly, uterovesical fold. Posteriorly, recto-uterine fold or pouch of Douglas. We have various ligaments. Quick revision. Pubocervical, lateral, cervical, then uterosacral and round ligament. And muscles. Levator ani, the muscles which form the perineal body and surrounding visceral organs. Anteriorly urinary bladder, posteriorly rectum anal canal. They are also giving supports. Okay, and whatever tissue surrounding this, you call it as loose parametric tissue. Okay, so this is the place where the uterus is present. Okay, and below this we have vagina. Okay, so now when we talk about vagina, see this whole thing is the anterior wall and posterior wall looks little larger, no? Because of this angulation. So anterior wall is measuring 7.5 centimeters, posterior wall is measuring 9 centimeters. Then it will have two lateral walls. This is one lateral wall, this is one more lateral wall. Okay. So vagina relations. This whole thing is vagina, right? From here till this is cervix. This is anterior, this is posterior, this is vagina. Anteriorly, it is related to what? It's related to the neck of the urinary bladder and urethra. Posteriorly, it's related to this pouch of Douglas, okay, this ampulla of rectum, perineal body and anal canal. On either side, laterally it will be related to, from other pictures if you can recollect, it's related to ureter, uterine artery, levator ani and urogenital diaphragm. Okay, so that is all about uterus. Then we will see some applied aspects. So ovula nephoti. So that means I told you this is the cervix external os, which normally it looks like this. Sometimes it may be like some infection may be there, because of which you will see the formation of cysts, which are called as Nephothian cysts. Okay. So congenital anomalies of the uterus, you will see different. Normal uterus, if it is looking like this, sometimes the uterus may not grow. It may be unicarnuate or bicarnuate, septate. Okay, different types of anomalies. Congenital anomalies we will discuss more when we are doing embryology. Okay, prolapse of uterus. Yesterday we have seen one picture when we were doing pelvic diaphragm. And also what was the topic we have discussed yesterday? Pelvic diaphragm only, no?
It's colorectal fossa. No.
That was pelvic diaphragm yesterday.
Pelvic diaphragm.
So in the pelvic diaphragm, I kept one picture where uterus was hanging outside the body, no? What is that condition called as?
Prolapse.
Prolapse of uterus. Prolapse. Now based on how much, see this is the normal position of the uterus. Okay. So how much part of the uterus is descending down gradually till it is seen through the vaginal orifice. It's like classified as first degree, second degree, third degree. The complete last fourth degree is called as procedentia, where the whole uterus is seen outside the vaginal orifice. Okay, that is. So cervical cancer is the first killer of cancer among females. Breast cancer and cervix cancer. These are the two common cancers because of which generally the females' death rate is occurring. Okay. So cervix carcinoma, you can see. Okay. The just general knowledge. Of course, you will study in pathology next year. Cervix cancer is very common in case of females with multiple sexual partners and early age of coitus. Okay. So endometriosis, it's the infection. You will see. In case of endometriosis, in fact, the endometrial tissue is found anywhere outside the uterine cavity. See, it is seen over the fundus, it is seen inside the fallopian tube, it's seen in the broad ligament or outside into the peritoneal cavity, anywhere. Okay. So sometimes you will see there is extra mass of growth. That is actually, this is benign tumor. Benign means early stage of cancer is called as benign. Late stage of cancer is basically called as cancer or carcinoma. Benign and malignant. These are the two terms used to indicate the early stage benign, late stage malignant. So in the early stage, these are actually uterine fibroids. Uterine fibroids are basically seen during active sexual life. That is, usually it will be seen up from 25 years to 45 years. These uterine fibroids are very much commonly seen because they are dependent on ovarian hormones. After menopause, because the hormones are not available, automatically these fibroids will shrink in size. Basically, the female who has fibroids will not come to us clinically if she has completed her family. Okay, but after the completion of family, if these fibroids are there, generally it will lead to abortion because the baby will not get a chance to get accommodate inside the uterine cavity. Okay. These are the uterine infections, adenomyosis, endometrial cancer. If there is excessive multiplication of endometrial tissue, you call it as hyperplasia. Okay. Hysterectomy is done whenever we find there is cervix cancer. Cervix, I told you, cervix cancer, the commonest virus is HPV, human papilloma virus. Okay. So you will see this virus. Basically, when you are planning for the cervical carcinoma, generally we will just do the cone type of
Pap test.
pap smear is done in to just rule out if there is any cervix cancer. Okay.
Okay.
And it has to be done for sure after 30 years of age. It's always wise to go with that pap smear, Papa Nicolau smear, which will help us to find out if there are any cancer cells in cervix. Okay. So if there is any uterine cancer or cervix cancer, if it has spread to the uterine cavity, we have to plan for complete removal of uterus. Okay. That is hysterectomy. Hysterectomy we generally undertake only if the lady is close to menopause, and it's not wise to remove the uterus before menopause because female sexual life cycle will be very much disturbed, and because the health psychologically, most of the things like our cardiovascular system, our skeletal system, most of the systems, nervous system functioning, everything is dependent upon the hormones, and it's not wise to remove the uterus, fallopian tube, ovaries before 45 to 50 years of age. As far as possible, we should try to spare it. Only in case if it is too bad and we can't do anything, then only we have to plan for hysterectomy. After that also we see that we have to give that lady. So after suppose if ovaries are removed, we have to give the hormonal drugs. Okay, so that her health is maintained. Otherwise, cardiovascular diseases, skeletal disorders, osteoporosis, depression, so many things are all related to ovarian hormones. So we should be careful enough not to do any harm to our patient. Okay. Accidental injury to the ureter. This I told you when I was discussing ureter also. When we are doing hysterectomy, be careful while ligating or cutting the uterine artery. Don't cut the ureter. Okay. So these are temporary ways of sterilization techniques to prevent pregnancy, we have intrauterine contraceptive devices. This popular contraceptive uterine device is copper T. As long as this instrument is inside the uterine cavity, the conceptus, that means the ovulation, the products of conception will not be implanting inside the uterine cavity. Physiologically, if any foreign body is there inside the uterine cavity, it will not allow implantation. Okay, that is the like logic behind this intrauterine devices. Of course, with intrauterine devices also, pregnancy is possible, and again there may be complications, which you will study in gynecology, 4th year obstetrics. Okay. So rectouterine pouch, sometimes there may be peritoneal infection, and the infection like all this may get collected over here, and we can pass a probe through the vagina and enter into the this Douglas pouch or the rectouterine pouch, and we can drain it. Okay. I hope you understood.
Yes, ma'am.